He has been traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ian Rappaport says, shocker! This one came out of left field for Ian Rappaport.
Another trade to talk about. Well, the Denver Broncos just played their final game with Bradley Chubb on their team. They've just traded him to the Miami Dolphins.
It's days before Thanksgiving 2022. The year's not yet over. The NFL season is still far from over. But one thing that is over is trading in the NFL. As the trade deadline came at the first of the month, there will be no more trades. So today we're going to look at the top 10 trades of 2022 in the NFL. The number 10 trade of 2022, Amari Cooper to the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Dallas Cowboys traded Amari Cooper along with a 6th-round pick in 2022 to Cleveland in exchange for a 5th-round pick and another 6th-round pick. So, essentially, you swapped 6th-round picks and got a 5th-rounder for Amari Cooper. This was a bargain deal for Cleveland. This was damn near highway robbery. During his 4 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys, Amari Cooper averaged 69.5 yards per game. He had 27 touchdowns during his tenure there. So far, through 10 games this season, Amari Cooper has 50 catches, 698 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I mean, Amari Cooper looks as good as he ever has in his career. Here's the kicker with this trade, is that Amari Cooper was the 2nd best receiver on the Cowboys roster. They sent him away for basically nothing in return. I mean, the 2 picks that they got in exchange for him were very low draft picks. They used them on offensive lineman Matt Waletzko, who has played 1 offensive snap this year, and linebacker Devin Harper, who has played 0 snaps on defense. So the 2 guys that you trade your 2nd best receiver for have done nothing for your team. Absolutely nothing. So the Cowboys look like absolute fools here. The Browns, good for them. They got a good deal. They swindled old Jerry. The number 9 trade of 2022, the Lions trade T.J. Hockenson to the Minnesota Vikings. Now this trade did not make sense 3 weeks ago. It does not make sense now. I don't understand the logic in this trade whatsoever. Hockenson is traded to the Vikings along with a 2023 4th-round draft pick and a conditional 2024 4th-round draft pick in exchange for a 2nd-round pick in 2023 and a 3rd-round pick in 2024. So what you mean to tell me is that Detroit traded away one of the best tight ends in the league and one of the best players on their roster just so that they could upgrade 2 4th-round picks to a 2 and a 3. Somebody make this make sense. The Lions drafted Hockenson 8th overall in 2019 out of Iowa. In 47 career games with the Lions, he caught 186 passes for 2,068 yards. He averaged 11.1 yards per catch. He had 15 touchdowns. Through 2022 with the Lions, he was having a career-high 56.4 yards per game. His 395 receiving yards was the most on the Lions. And you trade him. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make a lick of sense. What this trade has done is it leaves the Lions with Brock Wright as your tight end 1. It was a great move for the Minnesota Vikings. Irv Smith got injured. You need a tight end. You get T.J. Hockenson. You get a better tight end than the one you just lost. Makes perfect sense for the Vikings. And you're contending for a Super Bowl this year with that high-powered offense, which I maintain will collapse in the playoffs. Just watch. But how does it make sense for the Lions to do this, especially trading within your division? You're giving up one of the best players on your team. You're giving him to a team that you have to play twice a year. And again, the return you got for him was minimal compensation. TJ Hawkinson, in his first game with the Vikings, he got targeted 9 times. He caught all 9 passes for 70 yards. I just don't see the logic in this trade on the part of the Lions. Great move for the Vikings. Number 8, the Pittsburgh Steelers trade Chase Claypool to the Chicago Bears. The Steelers drafted Chase Claypool in the second round of 2020. He has 12 career receiving touchdowns, 9 of which came in his rookie season. He's had a drop-off in production and an increase in locker room headaches and being a massive distraction for the team. He has showed a complete lack of situational awareness on the field. Everyone remembers when he tried to celebrate a first down during a hurry-up offense, which resulted in the Steelers not being able to snap the ball in time and losing a game. And then he tried to defend his actions tooth and nail and just went down swinging. Just went down with the ship. A losing battle, but he still felt the need to try and defend his actions and say, I don't think that's why we lost. But Claypool averaged 60 catches and 860 yards through his first 2 seasons. And now the Steelers trade him. They get a second-round draft pick back. They get their initial investment back. I think that this was a very good move for both teams because Pittsburgh wanted to get rid of Claypool, and Chicago needed another receiver. I mean, with Allen Robinson gone, Justin Fields can't just throw the ball to Darnell Mooney on every play, and he can't be running the ball 20 times a game. It's not sustainable. Now, Chase Claypool hasn't had much of an impact on the Chicago Bears offense so far, but that offense has been improving over the last couple weeks. And I think once they do get Claypool more involved, that offense is going to look even better than they do right now. Number 7, Atlanta Falcons trade Calvin Ridley to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This trade was one that surprised a lot of people, myself included. But the Jaguars received Calvin Ridley, who is currently suspended for the 2022 season for betting on NFL games, well, one game in particular, which oddly enough was the Falcons versus the Jaguars. They get Calvin Ridley in exchange for what stands as a conditional 5th round pick and a conditional 2nd round pick. Now, the 5th round pick could be a 6th based on the date of Calvin Ridley's reinstatement to the league. The 2nd round pick could be a 3 or a 4 based on production and whether or not he's re-signed to a long-term contract with the Jaguars. Currently, his contract is set to expire after the 2023 season, in which he will make $11.6 million in salary. Now, I talk a lot of trash about Jaguars general manager Trent Baalke. All 31 general managers looked at Trent Baalke and said, why? Do you realize what you've done?
Yeah, I'm giving this one to the Colts. I feel pretty good about it.
You can't just stick to screwing your own team. You got to screw all of us. In Doug, we trust. In Trent, I don't. I was not thrilled to get Trayvon Walker. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. Baalke actually did it.
Yeah, you can't get mad at him, though.
I ain't apologizing to him. I stand by everything I said about him and his incompetence. I still stand by. I don't think Trent Baalke is. I don't think Baalke is a capable GM. And to be fair, when he stops being utter horse shit at his job, I'll stop dogging him. But even a broken clock is right twice a day. Now, Ridley hasn't played since 2021, in which he only played 5 games. But in 2020, he caught 90 passes for 1,374 yards and 9 touchdowns. So, as a Jaguar fan, personally, I'm excited to see what he can do with Trevor. I'm excited to get him in that wide receivers room with Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and really stretch the field and open things up for that offense. Number 6, the New York Giants trade Kadarius Toney to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Giants drafted Toney 20th overall in 2021. They trade him for a 3rd round pick and a 6th round pick. Personally, I think that they could have gotten much better value for Kadarius Toney. Toney is 6 feet tall, 193 pounds of pure athleticism and God-given talent. He has 4.39 speed, and he only caught 2 passes for the G-Men in 2022. During his senior season at the University of Florida in 2020, he caught 70 passes for 984 yards, 10 touchdowns. He ran the ball 19 times for 161 yards and a touchdown. As a Gator fan, I just wanted to see either Kadarius Toney or Kyle Pitts get the ball on every single play. Now, like I said, this is not great value for someone that you invested a 1st round draft pick in, but the Giants just absolutely had no idea what they had with Kadarius Toney. And Travis Kelce's even said on the New Heights podcast that he doesn't know how they let this man out the door. Number 5, the Chicago Bears trade Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this is one of those big, flashy headline trades that everyone was talking about that happened before the deadline. Roquan Smith had demanded a trade. He wanted out of Chicago, as I assume a lot of players do during these times. He wanted out of Chicago. That defense lost a big playmaker when they lost Khalil Mack. Then Roquan Smith wanted out. He had to watch them trade Robert Quinn, who he was very close to on that defense. He broke down crying during the press conference when he found out about Robert Quinn being traded. And now Chicago grants him his wish. They have traded him to the Baltimore Ravens. In exchange, they got a 2nd round pick, a 5th round pick, and A.J. Klein. Now, I had said on Twitter, don't sleep on that A.J. Klein acquisition. That was 100% sarcasm because A.J. Klein is nowhere near the player of a Roquan Smith, and this was a pretty good trade for Baltimore. You got one of the best linebackers in the NFL in exchange for a career journeyman, a 2nd, and a 5. It's like drafting an all-star in the 2nd round, pretty much. Smith had been drafted 8th overall out of Georgia in 2018. He's a 2-time All-Pro. He had 163 tackles in 2021. He led the NFL with 83 tackles through the first 8 games of 2022. He wanted out. Klein has played for the Panthers, Saints, Bills, Ravens, and now Bears since 2013. His best season was in 2020 when he recorded 75 tackles for 5 sacks. So it could be argued that he's playing at the top of his game. Chicago, they're not down a man. They got someone to fill that spot. They're rebuilding. And it's interesting to see what this team looks like in the years to come. Honestly, A.J. Klein is just the kind of linebacker that I sign on Madden just to make up the numbers and round out the roster. He's played in 2 games so far for the Bears. He has done nothing for them. Number 4, the Tennessee Titans trade A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles. As a Jaguars fan, I rather enjoyed this trade because it got A.J. Brown off of our division rivals and out of our division. But if you're a Titans fan, this one will haunt you. Now, A.J. Brown played 3 seasons with the Titans. He caught 185 passes for 2,995 yards, 24 touchdowns. He was coming up on a contract year. Tennessee did not want to pay him, so they traded him. Now, the Titans traded A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for the 18th overall pick in the 2022 draft and a 3rd round pick. Now, the 3rd round pick they would end up trading away. The 18th overall pick, Tennessee used on Arkansas receiver Treylon Burks. So their thinking was, we've got an all-star receiver, but we don't want to pay him, so we're going to trade him and then use the pick we get on someone that we think could also develop into an all-star receiver. It hasn't really worked that way. A.J. Brown, through 9 games, has 49 receptions, 785 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Those 6 receiving touchdowns by A.J. Brown are twice as many as all Titans receivers combined this year. Treylon Burks, on the other hand, through the first 4 games of the season, only caught 10 passes for 129 yards, got placed on IR. He was averaging 2.5 receptions per game and 32.3 yards per game. Now, to be fair to Treylon Burks, he did just have the best game of his season so far. He caught 7 passes for 111 yards. But A.J. Brown is just the kind of talent that you don't part ways with unless you get substantial compensation. And this trade was one of the things that helped Philadelphia build their team into what they are now, which is basically the 2022 version of the 2021 Rams. They're an all-star team. It's a dream team. It's by far the best roster in the NFL, and it shows with their record. They've only lost 1 game this year. Number 3, the Denver Broncos trade Bradley Chubb to the Miami Dolphins. This was an absolute game changer. The Miami Dolphins drastically improved their offense this year, and now they made a huge move to improve their defense. They are going all in on this team and this regime and Tua Tagovailoa and contending for a Super Bowl now. Now, Bradley Chubb with the Denver Broncos made the Pro Bowl in 2020. He battled injuries. He had 26 career sacks in 49 games. And he had 5.5 sacks for the Broncos prior to being traded. Now, Chubb was traded along with a 5th-round pick in 2025 to the Miami Dolphins in exchange for a 2023 first-round pick, a 2024 4th-round pick, and running back Chase Edmonds. I think this is one of the more even trades on this list, as the Denver Broncos really needed a running back. They lost Javonte Williams for the year. They lost Mike Boone. They were left with Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray. They needed a running back. They got Chase Edmonds. Edmonds had a career year in 2021 with the Arizona Cardinals. He had 903 total yards. This season, he's had 120 yards for the Dolphins and averaged only 2.9 yards per carry. He took a giant step back, but Denver just needs bodies in the backfield. And they're banking on Edmonds being able to recapture his production from last year. Now, Denver, through this trade, they're able to get a bunch of draft picks back after mortgaging their future during the Russell Wilson trade. They also have been able to release Melvin Gordon with Chase Edmonds now in the backfield. The Miami Dolphins signed Bradley Chubb to a 5-year, $110 million contract extension. Everybody's happy. Number 2, the Carolina Panthers trade CMC to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Christian McCaffrey has been, for the most part, the entire Panthers offense for the last few years. Run CMC was drafted 8th overall in 2017 and averaged over 113 yards of offense per game during his tenure with the Panthers. McCaffrey is one of only 3 players in NFL history with 1,000 rushing and 1,000 receiving yards in the same season. The other 2 players to do that, Roger Craig and Marshall Faulk. From 2017 to 2021, McCaffrey played in 58 games. That's less than 12 games per year. He was banged up a lot. He was constantly injured. But he averaged over 113 yards per game, as I said, and scored 47 touchdowns. Now, it's a fire sale in Carolina. It's a going out of business sale. They are moving any and everybody. They are preparing for the future. They are preparing to tear it all down and build it back up from the ground up. So they have to trade away the best player on their roster. That was Christian McCaffrey. They reportedly wanted multiple first-round draft picks for him, but this is 2022. Nobody is going to give up multiple, if even a single, first-round draft pick for an injury-riddled running back. Or perhaps a running back in general. Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb may be the only running backs that you could get a first-round pick for in a trade. They might be the only two that would yield that kind of return. And even then, we're talking about a single first-round pick, not multiple first-round picks. But Carolina set the price high. San Francisco negotiated the price down. San Francisco gives up a second-round pick, a third-round pick, and a fourth-round pick in 2023, along with a fifth-round pick in 2024 for Christian McCaffrey. Now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense on behalf of the 49ers, who already have a crowded running back room and multiple weapons on offense. I mean, it makes sense in a win-now mentality. It doesn't make sense in a, filling a need mentality. They're not filling a need. They didn't need another running back. This was a luxury trade on behalf of the Niners. In his Bay Area debut, McCaffrey rushed for 94 yards and a touchdown, had 55 receiving yards and a touchdown, and even completed a 34-yard pass for a touchdown. He did absolutely everything on offense. It was incredible to watch. And the 49ers, as I said, they didn't need McCaffrey, but they had the luxury of trading for him. Everybody wins. San Francisco is very satisfied with their new offensive weapon. Carolina got a bunch of picks that they can use during their rebuilding process. The only loser in this trade is me, as an owner of Deebo Samuel in my fantasy football league, because McCaffrey is now taking touches away from Deebo. But a good trade for both teams. Everyone wins. And the number one trade of 2022, the Kansas City Chiefs trade Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins. This was the biggest blockbuster trade of the year. Now, the Russell Wilson trade does not make the top 10 because it was absolutely disastrous. It would make a top 10 worst trades ever list, but this is the top 10 best trades of 2022. The Kansas City Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill for first, second, and fourth round picks in 2022, fourth round pick in 2023, and a sixth round pick in 2023. The Miami Dolphins gave up all that for the Cheetah and then signed him to a 4-year, $120 million contract extension. Tyreek Hill is a 6-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion, made the All-Decades team for the 2010s, and right now, he leads the NFL in receptions with 81, yards 1,148, and yards per game 114.8. He was on pace for 2,000 yards this season with 120 yards per game. He can still reach 2,000 yards this season. He has made Tua Tagovailoa look like a top 5 quarterback in the league. Miami's offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle it's not just designed to take the top off the defense, it's designed to completely blow the roof off. It's one of the best offenses in the NFL, and Kansas City hasn't regressed much in Tyreek's absence. All the receivers in Kansas City are flourishing now. Mahomes is spreading the ball more so than ever. Travis Kelce leads the league in touchdowns, and Mahomes is still averaging 300 yards per game. This is a rare case of a trade happening where both teams got better. So by far, the Tyreek Hill trade was the best trade of 2022. That's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel for more, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter.